A year ago this week, I published my book, Emotional Targeting, and so much happened. In this episode, I invited Jessica, my COO, to interview me about the entire process of writing, launching, and selling this book. If you've been thinking about writing your own book and playing around with the idea of publishing one, this episode is for you. I get into the real deal and really share everything. All the good stuff, the challenges, what we went through, where we had blockers, what prevented me from writing a book for so many years, the mental shift I had to take, and also the exact step-by-step process of launching the actual book. Let's get started.
Hey, Taya, thanks for letting me interview you on the 1-year anniversary of Emotional Targeting being published. Congratulations.
Thank you. I can't believe it's been a year. It's kind of crazy to think about it.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. So now that you've had a full year post-publication, I'm going to force you to go all the way back to even before you started writing a book. And maybe I actually don't think we've ever really dug deep into the story of how you finally decided to write your book. Because I know when I came into it, I know a lot of people in your network were telling you to write a book, but I don't think I ever really discussed with you if this was even something that was always a dream of yours to write a book. So did you always want to write a book, or was emotional targeting the framework you created demanding to become a book?
That's a really good question. Honestly, when I quit my day job, which is a story that I tell quite a bit, I was 6 months pregnant with my first kid. And the first thing I thought I was going to do was write a book. So I sat down and took everything I had built for the past few years working in conversion optimization in a different agency. I mean, today it's very different than what it was then, but I was going to turn it into a book and sell it. And I got on a call with the Shine Crew, which is a group of amazing women that I've been connected with for over a decade now, that we are all entrepreneurs and career-driven women who help each other out. And I said, "Hey, I've quit my job and I'm going to write a book about this framework." And Joanna Weeb said, "No, you're not. You're going to do a course." So I was already thinking about writing the book in 2016. But I pivoted, I turned it into a course. It was great. It was a very wise decision, by the way. Started my own agency, Get Uplift, and then ran thousands of A/B tests and optimized the emotional targeting framework to a point where it felt like this has to be in a book. It just has to, because there's only so much you can say on a podcast, on an interview, on a webinar, on stages all over the world. If I want more people to be impacted and get the benefit of this framework, I have to put it into a book. So that's kind of how it ended up happening almost 10 years later.
That's interesting. I did not realize that Joe had told you to first create a course. I've heard it go both ways: book first, then course, course, then book. Why do you think your way helped with going from first a course to then a book? Or would you recommend someone do it the opposite?
I think it's a case by case thing. So for me, it worked well because after doing the course and launching it multiple times over the past decade and optimizing it and getting the chance to run so many A/B tests and work with so many clients from so many different industries, the book is better for it. I'm not sure it wouldn't have been a great book back then, but it was based on the stuff and the case studies that I did for a different company that wasn't necessarily mine. I ran it, but it wasn't my company. And the last 10 years at Get Uplift, I built the company from the ground. I worked with hundreds of clients and thousands of marketers. And I just had so many more case studies, and I worked with so many different industries. So I think it made the book better. I think for me, that was the way. But I think, there are some people who build all their entire career on multiple books and do really well. So I think it really just depends on what's right for you.
Yeah, totally. Was there one specific final, point where it was like, okay, yes, I'm now going to because I know you reached out to Abby and I to help you with your book. So, what was the final event that happened right before you reached out to us and was like, okay, now's the time?
Well, funnily enough, in January of 2024, the Shine crew all met up in a resort, and we do these annual events where we all meet and we workshop each other's businesses and we hang out, and the book came up again. So I said, okay, I think I'm ready for the book. And everyone in the group was like, yes, it is now time for the book, Talia. And we spent almost a full day, which is insane, workshopping, brainstorming. Oh my gosh, I had amazing women around me. I had April fucking Dunford here. I had Joanna Weeb and Gia Lordy and Tara Robertson. And it was just like a group of these amazing women who have so much experience. And we were all talking about my book. So that was kind of the catalyst, where it's not that I didn't know I was going to do it, but hearing, getting that support from people around me was the moment where I was like, okay, get over everything, and you're actually doing it. And again, there were many points throughout the years where I said, oh, I really need to get a book. But I was also very much invested in the business itself. And it was only those few last years, 2023 and 2022, that I was able to step back and be more of the CEO and be able to say, okay, I think I now have the time to do it. But again, like, I only started working on this and, like, I don't know, was it mid 2024 when I hired you guys? I think so.
Yep, I think so. Yes, it was spring. It was springtime. So, yeah,
Yeah,
springtime of 2024. Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's funny. So, when you were, before we dive into then the process and everything that you did for the writing of the book, I, I first want to get a sense of, I always find this really interesting to understand, people who aren't, don't you, I never got the sense from you, never shared with me that you wanted to be a full-time author. And so I think it's really interesting when people who aren't going down that route, but also feel a call to writing a book, publishing a book and all of that. I kind of want to know, like, what does it mean to you when when you say or imagine yourself as an author? What did that mean to you?
I don't, honestly. I don't imagine myself or call myself an author. I mean, I have it in my
Oh,
bio, but
yeah.
for me, I wrote the book for two reasons. One is I really wanted to take everything I had done in 10 years that couldn't be, it wasn't, it was too big for a blog post. It was too big for a guide. It was huge. And I wanted to get it out there, out of my mind, to show, okay, here's everything that we've done in the past, like, decade or more, plus get it to as many people as possible, as many people as possible, as many teams, freelancers, founders, anyone who can get their hand on it, so that they can learn and use it. So that was one part. And the second part for me was marketing, because everyone I spoke to in my circles had said, yeah, the book is great for lead gen for your agency. It's great for getting more speaking gigs. It's great for your authority. So it was like a natural progression for me where I felt, okay, I should do this. I should have this. And I built something that no one else talks about or has experience in. I should claim this thing, and I should use it as a lead generator for my agency, which we can talk in our next episode on how that worked. But yeah, it's definitely, those were the two reasons. So I don't walk around thinking I'm an author. And it was a very hard process for me. Very, very hard.
So let's talk about that. What happened after your Shine Crew meetup and before you reached out to Abby and I? How did you even get that idea? How did you know what path you should take as a writer if you don't really just sit down and start typing out a book?
Yeah. So the thing is, I actually went home in January and started outlining the book. I outlined the whole book, and then I sat and stared at it, and I started panicking because, yes, I write a lot. Like, that is actually how I built my authority. Starting out, I just wrote case studies for our blog, but writing a book scared me. And I realized that I needed a different plan, and that I am a verbal thinker. And I'm not going to be able to just sit in front of an empty doc and pour everything out. And the thing that kept coming up to me is, okay, but I've already written blog posts and guides about emotional targeting. So if I sit down to write a book now, how do I make it different? Like, how does it not sound like a blog post? And that's when I thought, okay, what I should do is I should hire writers who actually know how to write a book and who are in marketing, who can interview me and ask me these questions so that I can do my verbal thinking and talk out loud and basically have verbal diarrhea, which is what I call it, and then take all of that mess and then start editing. And that was actually the best action that I took, because as soon as I had you and Abby on calls with me for every chapter, just asking relevant questions that I probably wouldn't have thought of including in the book, but you really pinpointed, like, wait, can you go a little further into this? Can you explain that? Wait, what does that mean? So having someone ask me these questions and me being able to just say it all out, and then I had basically taken out a ton of time to just edit and edit and edit and remove things and change things and ask questions and get feedback from you and Abby. We're like, no, 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 keep that in. So that worked better for me than when I tried to just stare at a blank page and do it myself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. And just for our audience, I want to make sure we clarify kind of Abby and my roles in this. So they're, because I'm sure people are saying, well, wait, so what were you doing? And who's Abby? So Abby is also a phenomenal writer, content writer, copywriter, unbelievable marketer who's built her own business, and Abby Prendergast. And her book is Day One Evergreen. And she and I have done this process together for years for different authors. And so Abby was acting more with Talia as the person who was interviewing her and really getting a sense of the content of the book and asking a lot of great questions like Talia mentioned. I was more of the strategist and the coach and the manager of the project. And when I heard things, I like to be the third grader in the room who knows nothing about the content or the topic and ask the obvious questions, because I was also serving as the role of who are the readers who know very, very little. So I was also the beginner in the room, asking really obvious questions, I'm sure, to the two of you, but making sure that we kind of filled in any holes or anything for people who maybe were less sophisticated in their marketing or sales or emotional targeting awareness. So the book would speak to them as well. So,
Absolutely. And that was really the key part for me, because I work very well as a team, and having people just ask me the right questions is, that's a form of art in itself. And that was really helpful in getting the book out of my brain and formatting it in a way that is digestible and helpful.
yeah, absolutely. You are great working with teams. I love that about you. I love working with you, obviously. So you and I have both, been around so many business owners, people who've created frameworks and written books and things. And some of them go hardcore into their framework, and others it's more of a, almost like what we would call commercial angle on the book. And their framework might be in there, but it's not. And you went completely in on teaching emotional targeting framework. Was that always the plan?
It's a good question, because I had two goals. One was I wanted people to not just get it, but like truly, truly understand that without emotional targeting, you cannot survive the next 10 years in business. It was crucial for me. And now, I mean, with zero click marketing now, I mean, it's just even more important. So I'm glad that I spent more time on that. But for me, the idea of making sure that anyone who picks up the book understands that without this framework, they can't sell. They won't be able to scale was really important to me. I really wanted people to understand how important this framework is. So there was a lot of strategy in there, but more importantly, I wanted people to be able to act on it quickly. So I didn't want it to feel like a philosophy book or like, here's another strategy book, but there's a lot of, so step one, you do this, now go do it. Step two, you have this. Step three, you have this. And I wanted to make sure that there were so many examples in there and case studies so that people could apply it to their own business. So it was obvious to me that it was going to be a practical book. I have received countless photos from people with, markers and Google Sheets that they created, even though we have our own. There's just a lot of people who took the book and literally just started working on it. And then there were people who took the book and then gave it to their entire team and was like, read this. This is how we're working from now on. So they were able to sell the strategy and articulate what was missing in the growth team kind of strategy. So I think it's both the strategy and the practical. That was a very long answer, but there you go.
So walk us through a little bit more about with your experiences with Abby and I as you were writing and developing the book.
So I think the hardest part for me was I had a lot of kind of internal dialogue with like, this is cheating. That's how I felt like I was cheating because I knew from other friends of mine who were like, no, I'm doing everything from scratch. I'm writing the whole thing from scratch. And I went through this process of like, no, this is still writing a book, but I'm a verbal person. So it was really mostly in my head. I was worried that I was cheating my way into a book, if that makes sense. And for me, I wanted to be heavily like, it was my book.
You and I are so similar in this. I don't consider myself, yes, I love to aspire to be an amazing author and all that, but I too am very verbal. And so what we were really doing, and I think this is helpful for the audience too, anyone else who wants to write a book, Talia was creating the first draft. You really did, but it was a transcript. It was us, like you said, getting on and we were interviewing you, asking you questions. But we took that outline that you created. We together all kind of went through it, edited, revised the outline a little bit. And then every interview was related to exactly to that chapter's outline. We asked each other questions. We had you just go on a long, almost like we were your students, which we were, and we have been for years. Like you were giving us a personalized lecture, and that created the transcript that then was literally put into draft one, and it was essentially draft one. It's just you and I are similar that way. I think we both prefer to draft verbally first. So if it's still writing though, so it was just, transcript that then needed, okay, fine, we put in headlines and crossheads and things like that. But you were definitely doing the first draft and we were finessing at most. So with that, talk to me a little bit about if someone were like you and not necessarily a writer. I mean, I've had most of my clients have that exact feeling. They're like, I'm not a writer. I need you to do it. But what would you tell someone? Because you do write a lot. You have a very distinct voice that can be hard to capture. What would you tell someone who's been thinking about writing and publishing a book, but they too either, for a lot of reasons, don't consider themselves a writer, and maybe like you had more time than you probably did in the years before, but you were still limited on time, and that was an obstacle as well. So what do you say to other people who are thinking about this?
I think the most important part is just to remember that if you're writing a book and the book has value to other people, it doesn't actually matter if you're opening your own Google Doc and writing every word, or if you're transcribing it, or if you're just interviewing yourself, you're doing it through podcasts or blog posts. I think the most important part is getting the story out there. And sometimes we get into our own heads, which is exactly what I did and why it took me so long to get there, because I thought that I would have to do it in a very particular, specific way. And I just wasn't able to. I wasn't able to open a Google Doc and write 80,000 words. It was just beyond me. But when I realized, like, if I just talk out and get the transcript and edit it, it will be great. You have to find the thing that works most for you. And that's what works for me. And it might be something different for you. One of the things that I also used that I absolutely loved was Speechify. And Speechify was great because after you interviewed me and I'd get the transcript and I'd do some editing, I would put it into Speechify and it would read it back to me. Because I can read obviously much faster when I'm hearing. It's audio. And Speechify literally does that. You can upload any content and it will read it back to you. You could also get it in Snoop Dogg's voice, but not a recommendation. But it it was so good because then as I was listening to it, I was like, "Oh, okay, no, this is missing. I like this." So I was using technology and the people around me to help amplify my story and to get it out there. And I think that's the most important part, is that a lot of times we prevent ourselves, or we stop ourselves from doing the next best thing because we have so much self-doubt, or we believe that it could only be done in a certain way. And I don't think that's true anymore. If it's your story, if it's your framework, if it's what you want to tell, it doesn't matter how you tell it as long as you tell it and it's yours.
Did you have in the writing process, were there ever times of doubt for you about the content, about what we
Yes.
were actually creating?
Yeah. When we finished the first draft and we were getting ready to send it to beta testers, we had a lot of people sign up, which is amazing. And I also had a list of close friends that I emailed that I was like, "Hey, I need you guys to take a look." And I remember putting this into an email to one of my friends and I said, "Does this feel just like a long blog post?" So it was a question because I was looking, you have self-doubt. You're like, is this really good enough for a book? Should this actually, go, have a place in someone's library? Obviously, my friend, who's an incredible person, wrote back, "You're crazy. This is an amazing book." But you have self-doubt. Everyone has that. And for me, I think it's just, who's going to read this? Why would anyone read this? Who has time to read books? And it's hard not to compare yourself to the amazing people around you too. So you want to have an amazing book and you want it to be worth people's time. And mostly I really wanted it to be valuable for people. And that was why I think I had so much doubt, because I was worried that it would be just a filler. Just as you said, someone who just puts out a book to say, "Oh, I'm an author. There you go. There's a book." And so that was where my self-doubt was.
Did writing the book change how you thought at all about emotional targeting, or was that pretty solid?
No, it didn't change what I thought about emotional targeting. It did amplify the importance of it, I think, to me, because when we did get to the beta testers and the amount of feedback I was getting, and even honestly, like even when Abby and you were interviewing me, and then I'd get on a call the following week and Abby would say, I learned so much from you last week from our call and I've implemented it in some ads. And I was like, oh, okay, it's great, because when you do it in your own agency, then you train everyone on your team to do it. And obviously we see amazing results of the audience. And we have a course. So Emotion Cells is a great course and you have hundreds of people taking that course. And I have like the monthly call with everyone, but you don't see it day by day being implemented by anyone. So the most incredible feedback was while writing the book and while the beta testings and with you and with Abby, and like anyone who read the book during the messy process kept coming back with like, "Whoa, dude, this is so cool. I have to try this," or "I've tried this out," or "Wow, it worked so well for me," or "I never thought about it this way," or "I love this." So it helped definitely cement that it's not just in my world. This is groundbreaking and important and the basis of all marketing, and everyone should be using it. And it was a good feeling for sure.
Can you share a little bit about what you were also doing with the content in other places, even though the book wasn't published quite yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I did is every time we finalized a chapter and I wanted to test something out, a concept out, an example out, and see if it landed, I would take that piece, obviously not, exactly as it is, but I would take a part of it and I would write a blog post about it, or I would write a post on LinkedIn, or we'd post on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or I'd do a quick video or a reel or something with that content to see how it lands and to see if people have follow-up questions. And that was a big thing because I would post stuff mostly on LinkedIn. And then people would ask, "Oh, that's cool. How would you do this?" Or "How would I do it if I was in this industry?" Or what if I... So it was really cool because we'd start getting all these questions from people, and I would learn more about the audience, who's interested in the book, and also get more ideas for how I can deepen the examples, how I can clarify things. And it was a really great process for us to just see that we are on track.
Absolutely. So Would you say that when we shifted from going writing, drafting, kind of first drafts, to then finalizing, because one of the things that comes up with authors that I've worked with, and I think just in general as I read about authors, is that moment where it's like, okay, I'm not revising this anymore. It needs to go out into the world. And it's not as easy for people, I think, who are, you're not most, there's only one Stephen King, and he drafts it and it pretty much goes, right? The rest of the writers, especially those who are writing books, but they don't consider themselves writers, there's a lot more gray area with when is this ready? How do I know? So can you talk about, what was it, beta reader rounds? Was it the feedback online? Like, how did you know? What was the point where it was like, okay, we're done revising. The manuscript now needs to be turned into a formatted book?
It was three things. First, it was the posts that we were doing on social and getting the questions and the feedback. The second was beta testing. After we got the first round of beta testings done, we changed a ton. Like, we cut out, I think it was 2.5 chapters from the book. We turned things around. We started with something else. So that was a big piece for me. The biggest feedback was, we want more of you, more of your jokes, more of the witty banter, parentheses, and all the stuff that I use in my blog posts and emails that I was stripping out from the book because I thought I had to be more, I don't know, authory or businessy, whatever that means. Eat your own medicine. And then that was a big piece. And then also the feedback that came back was consistent with what needed to be taken out, what needed to be edited. So that was number 2. That was very big. Once we did that, step number 3 was making a decision that I cannot keep editing this. So I had Sophia Dagnon on our team run through it. And I mean, I love Sophia so much. She's been working with me for 9 years now, or 8 years, and she knows the emotional targeting framework. She has put it to work thousands of times, and I needed her perspective. So again, same theme, having people you trust around you look at the work. And then at the final point was, I don't think I can do more. I think it just needs to be out there. And when I publish, I'm probably going to hate the book the day after. I'm probably not going to be happy. I'm probably going to want to change a bunch of things. And I'm never, ever going to feel like I've nailed this 100% A+. It's never going to happen. And the more I spoke to other authors, everyone was saying the same thing. Like, you don't feel confident. It never feels like, oh, this is a banger. No, you're just like putting your heart out into the world and hoping people will like it. And always say, well, we can revise that in the future. There can always be another adaptation or another chapter or whatever. But you're never going to feel good about it. And by the way, it's not just with books. It's with anything you put out into the world. You put out the best that you can, but you have to put it out. If you stop and you prevent yourself, then you're going back to, why did I even write this? I prevented myself for 10 years from writing this book. So now it needs to get out there. And that was a big thing for me, just saying, okay, push the green button, go live. I think once I did that was helpful because it was out there and it was done. Not everyone's going to be happy with it, and there's going to be critiques, but so be it. I did it. It's done. Okay, let's pause now and end the episode here. On our next episode, what we're going to talk about is the planning of the launch, how we went about it, the different challenges that we had that we were facing, and how we essentially tackled all these things. And then also how we treated the launch and how long was the launch and where we launched and what we did. Hopefully, Jessica and I can give you as many tips and ideas about how to go about it yourself, and just give you an inside view of what it was really like, and not the polished view that you usually get from authors, just a real deep dive into what that looks like. And that will be on our next episode of Heart Before Cart.